Hey guys, and welcome to a showdown featuring myself, a rubber duck of war, up against Mars Pattern, as the forces of the Empire do go toe to toe with the Wood Elves. And you may notice something a little bit special about my build. I decided when I woke up today that wizards for the weak. And the age of Sigma, the praise of Sigma, our great lord, is for the strong. So we've actually gone with a non-wizard build, which is something I've always been very against. I always try to explain to new players that you should always take a wizard in every single matchup, unless of course you are dwarfs. But once you get to a certain level, you can kind of start to ignore the basic rules a little bit. And this is one of those matchups where I think sometimes a wizard doesn't really pay for itself. The enemy can come in with Waste Stalkers and they instantly just snipe your wizard, so unless you're going to go 2 casters, which is quite expensive, it can be a big waste of money. So we've decided, you know what, we're not going to bother doing that, though my opponent hasn't actually brought any of those traditional sniping tools from the Wood Elves to take out my casters. We have Spearmen dotted all the way along, so cheap, cheerful, ready to die in the name of Sigma. There's going to be some proper faith, steel and gunpowder, though we don't have any gunpowder. It is bow power. We have Triple Huntsman. I'm actually going to pause about here as it looks like it does get underway quite quickly. We have Triple Huntsmen, who are absolutely marvellous in this matchup. Come with anti-large. I'm giving them all fire damage as well, because a Warrior Priest is nearby buffing them up. Look at this guy, he's an absolute Chad, ready to die in the name of Sigma. Well, hopefully win in the name of Sigma. Comes with, of course, all his good buffs, as well as the Scroll of Shielding and the Banner of Eternal Flame, giving extra fire damage and base weapon damage. Fire damage is really what we're after, though, to try and imbue fire to the Huntsman. They don't have the greatest AP, but do have anti-large. Imbued with fire, they'll be able to take down trees rather effectively. So, Triple Huntsman in the central pocket, supported by a Warrior Priest. In the back, we have Triple Knights of the Blazing Sun, 1, 2, 3, including a Warrior Priest here on horseback, coming in himself with all his good buffs. And his main job, of course, is to roll dirty with the Knights of the Blazing Sun and pimp them up as much as possible. Leading the force, we have Volkmar the Grim. I think he is by far the greatest lord in this matchup for Empire. He is nigh on unstoppable. Your opponent's going to have to chuck so much resources into dragging him down. He can kill the entire Widow front line, tank a lot of damage, unless he's come up against the Ryan, duel rather effectively up against the enemy characters. My opponent has gone relatively heavy on the Vanguard. We have some Glade Riders with spears dotted hidden on that left-hand flank, and on the right-hand side we do have 2 units of Wild Riders and 2 units on the left-hand side as well, though one of them is in fact a Great Stag Knights, the bad to the bones, elite, hard-hitting cavalry of the Wood Elves, who is also incredibly gas cannon. There's some more Glade Riders over this side, and then a bucket ton of Dryads. Dryads can be a bit hit and miss here because they get run over rather easily by cavalry, but they do have some really nice speed bonuses, allowing them to penetrate the enemy back line. We also have double Deepwood Scouts with Swift Shiver Shards, and the force shall be led by the Might of Drycha, coming in Pendulum, Enfeebling Foe, and of course her Summon. So this was not the type of build I was expecting. I was certainly expecting the double Waste Stalker. They're so good at taking down enemy artillery. My opponent, though, instead going for more of a rush style of play, which certainly is very viable in this matchup. Volkmar's aiming to try to run over some Dryads as quickly as possible and help out my Spearmen, because they're not going to be having the best of days here, holding this front line up against the Dryads. Knights of the Blazing Sun are also going to ramrod straight through the lines of the Spearmen as planned onto those Dryads and just annihilate them. Knights of the Blazing Sun, of course, do come in with fire damage, which does make them rather effective here. My opponent, though, does a really beautiful Dryad summon in the back line, which is forcing back all of my Huntsmen. We're going to counterpunch with 1 unit of Knights as well as a Warrior Priest. And of course, you can see Volkmar bringing the pain on those Wild Riders, smiting them with the Might of Sigma. We have some Knights of the Blazing Sun counter-charging Glade Riders, which is going to be fantastic for us, but a flank charge from the Great Stag Knights shall turn that engagement horrifically badly against me. We have more Glade Riders starting to pour into the back line. My position's starting to look a little bit beleaguered. Huntsmen are raining fire on the Wild Riders, who are getting cycle charged by my Knights of the Blazing Sun as much as possible, and pinned in place by Spearmen, but our front line has absolutely crumbled. My opponent also has the Wardens, which I didn't mention earlier. Regiment Renowned Wildwood Rangers, actually a really powerful unit all round, and quite good at dealing with Volkmar if they don't get hit by his banishments and other nasty spells. Wild Riders, looks like 1 unit has been forced off, but likewise so has a unit of Knights of the Blazing Sun, and all my Huntsmen are in retreat, which is really bad news for me. I'm trying to use the Knights as well as the Warrior Priest to protect these guys where possible alongside Volkmar, but Drycha is a pretty juicy target. We are trying to hunt her down. Of course, we do fire damage even with the Warrior Priest, so leaving him to duel up against Drycha, he should do a relatively solid job here, going toe-to-toe with the angry Tree Lady. On the far side, Glade Riders have been forced back. Enfeebling Foe did come down on our Warrior Priest, But Spearman not doing too bad here, holding up against the Dryades, though Great Stag Knights have managed to wrap around the flank, and the Wardens pushing in, but the Wardens give up the pursuit as more Wild Riders do start to pour in. Looks like all of my Huntsman elements have been compromised rather effectively here by my opponents, and these Huntsmen are now being beat back by Dryads, trying to work as an anvil so Volkmar can kill them, but he's making a bit of a meal of it. A new spawn opportunity in the back line to shut down the Deepwood Scouts, so we drive straight through the enemy formation with this unit of Knights of the Blazing Sun, looking to run these guys over, but my opponent, either the good cavalry player it seems, does pull back with his Wild Riders, and with some nice crossfire manages to force back the Knights of the Blazing Sun. A fat, juicy banishment comes down on the Wardens. These guys were full health pretty much before that went down, and they're doing a good job though trying to assassinate this warrior priest. The other priest is getting a little beat up, but as you can see, it is just the triple warrior priests in action, fighting to prove that magic is indeed weak, faith is strong. Volkmar's going after Drycha. He will eventually be able to catch her, you'd hope. She's actually relatively swift across the ground, but Volkmar should be able to deal with her relatively effectively, of course, with her weakness to fire, and the fact he does bring fire damage to the fray. But my opponent's going to be coming in while there's Wild Riders, looking to pin in Volkmar and stop me chasing off Drycha, so she may be able to escape yet. This Warrior Priest has managed to escape his Dryad pursuers, though he's wavering quite badly, and balance power is massively against me at the moment. Poor little Warrior Priest does indeed die in the name of Sigma, which is something he didn't want to do. And we have Spearmen being routed by Wild Riders, though the Wild Riders themselves are actually broken just due to the amount of damage they have taken. My opponent tries to bunch up on the Warrior Priest and Volkmar to save Drycha, but we're going to smite them with the might of Sigma. Wild Rider's taking massive damage here. It looks like Drycha indeed has been defeated and destroyed, so that nasty tree has started to wet the sand here with her blood. Wild Riders are terrified and moving away. I don't blame them being terrified. Volkmar is a scary combatant. And now my opponent has, of course, lost his leader, so he's going to get that massive negative to a lot of his leadership. And Volkmar is a terror-causing, unbreakable badass of war. He does come in here up against the Great Stag Knights and Dryads. We're going to be buffing ourselves up where possible with the Grand Shield of Faith. Now, one big problem I have is these Deepwood Scouts. They have decent ammunition left, and they are pouring that damage out onto Volkmar. Plus, the Wardens can, of course, be quite a big pest. Dryads are driving in. My opponent really trying to get a big fat surround on us if possible, just to buy more and more time for his Deepwood Scouts to pour in the fire, but we're not having any of it. Volkmar is just going to be driving towards his enemy, getting real aggressive and trying to attack these Deepwood Scouts, but Grand Shield of Faith is popped, giving us that damage resistance, which is quite nice, because it will even work here up against the magic damage of the Deepwood Scouts. But the Warrior Priest is getting danger low, and if they target him with one good volley, he most likely will be dead. Warrior Priest going after this unit, while Volkmar goes after the other one. Unfortunately, our poor Huntsmen have now been defeated in the back line, so it truly is the two champions against the world. And we're darting in once more. Hammer of Sigma has been popped, and we're going to come in with another banishment. Trying to finish off these Great Stag Knights. We've got Deepwood Scouts in the mix here as well. And that is some juicy Volkmar damage there. Unfortunately, it doesn't stick around for too long. It kind of vibes over to this flank, which is fine, because the Wardens are here as well. And a load of my opponent's build starts to break before the might of Volkmar. Up to 213 kills. He is so goddamn powerful in this matchup. Great Stag Knights going to continue to chase down the Warrior Priests. Likewise are the Glade Riders. Should be able to finish them off for good. But can they stop Volkmar? Balance power is actually in my favour for the first time in the battle. And it was so badly gone for us. It was looking really bleak. But Volkmar is an absolute champion. Realise I'm not about to outrun the Great Stag Knights. I just charge headlong into combat with them. At least trying to get my charge bonus. They do some pretty good burst damage all round. But then terror routed away, fleeing for their lives, losing a couple of models in the bargain. More Wild Riders do start to charge in to pin us in place. Grand Hammer of Sigma has gone down. Our melee attack is a whopping 54, which is quite nice, allowing us to shatter those Wild Riders. But the Deepwood Scouts are continuing to pour in that damage. 1,700 health. It's getting a little bit scary at this point. If my opponent can keep me away from these Scouts and keep them firing. There's only 14 models left in this one, but still 13 volleys is quite nice. 3 volleys left on this other unit as well. We're once again going to come down with that big bombardment spell, trying to catch out the Dryads and Glade Riders. My opponent does react quite quickly this time, and I managed to pull out for the most part, but the guys which did get caught did get killed, and that's going to be enough to actually rout and break off the units. Bounce power is now ebbing and flowing heavily into our favour as we continue our hot pursuit of the Deepwood Scouts. Down to just one volley, we have 1.6k health and of course regeneration. So we are going to be healing up at the moment, which is quite nice, and we certainly needed it. If we didn't have that, we would be dead long ago, and we're getting dangerously close to our healing cap at the moment. But my opponent has now run out of ammunition, and I think that does mean all hope is lost as Volkmar charges in. Deepwood Scouts try to launch themselves into battle and got absolutely trodden on. These two horses really need a pay rise from Volkmar because they're the ones doing all the work. Deepwood Scouts are terrified. There's one unit left fighting. Army losses will probably swoop in rather quickly now that the ammunition has been used up. Glade Rider is going to be trying a large, desperate charge into glory, and I don't know if it's going to go so well. This is kind of Rohan into the Mimikai vibes, and Volkmar having a pretty good job of it here, I think. Once again, all my opponent's units are starting to waver, and that terror is going to be pretty clutch. Shattering this unit of Glade Riders, the Deepwood Scouts do engage in combat, but the rest of their foes or friends have decided to leave. Wardens do rally last second, but once again break as army losses kicks in, and it shall be a mighty victory for the warriors of the Empire. Faith is for the strong, witchcraft is for the weak. Very well played to my opponent, Mars Patton. He was a super nice dude. We were actually chatting during the end part of that battle, so if the micro slipped up a little bit, we were just talking about Volkmar being an absolute world beater in this matchup. But well played to him. His build caught me off guard. I was definitely expecting the double Waystalker to try and do with cannons, Hellblasters, and all that kind of good stuff. And that's why I didn't go for the Wizards. But this is one of the matchups I feel like you can get away without going for a caster because of that sniper potential. And it paid out for us just about in the end. It was a close game. Beautiful cavalry commanding skills here from Mars Patton. Flooding into my back line, overriding those huntsmen, who when we get to the damage value, probably didn't do much. Likewise, the Knights of the Blazing Sun kind of got caught out, but Volkmar the Grim, that mustachio, putting some work in today. We will get through the damage dealt and damage value in just a second, but I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, feel free to leave a thumbs up and subscribe for more glorious Total War Warhammer action. There will be links down below to where you can support the channel, either via Patreon, where we're now doing lessons, and also you can just support the channel there. My Discord, where you can submit replays, get involved in the tournament scene, and chill have a load of cool people, and links to my Games Planet account. There is currently a special offer and a code, which I'll try and remember to leave in the description down below, so you guys can pre-order the next DLC at a reduced rate, which is all good for you guys, of course. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to comment down below as well. Who was your MVP? What was your favourite moment of the battle? And yeah, just say quack as well if you want to. So, all round, Volkmar the Grim carried us in a rucksack. He literally shoved the rest of the army, crammed them in to a big old travelling rucksack, put it on his back, and carried us to victory. 4,120 damage value, 285 kills, 21,000 damage dealt, and absorbing so much enemy pressure. My god, Volkmar is so dirty in this matchup. Only Orion can really stand against him. The Warrior Priest did okay. 484 damage value on this one. The other one's 793, which is relatively solid. But of course, their buffs are also what they bring to the table, which can be quite nice. The spin across the board, one unit got 605 damage value, been pinned in with some Wild Riders for a while. The rest got absolutely run over. Huntsman, 500, 630, and 665 damage value. Isn't garbage, considering how quickly they got shut down. Knights of the Blazing Sun, 700, 778, and 938 damage value. Again, not terrible, but not great. It really was our faith in Volkmar, which carried us through today. As for Mars Patton, I do like the Drycher pick here for that summon in the back line, which was really pesky, put me on the back foot and then allowed his Wild Riders to encase us and delete us. The Dryads across the front line did not too great. This unit 920, but the other really did get shut down by Volkmar. 1.2k on the Wardens. If it wasn't for that well-placed banishment after they surrounded the Warrior Priest, these guys would have certainly sealed victory. Really cool unit all round. Love to see them in action. The Deepwood Scouts did some beautiful damage. 1,666 and 963 damage value. Glade Riders and Wild Riders. I mean, the Glade Riders fared slightly poorly. Wild Riders a mixed bag. Come and get in the 425s, 574s, but also 1.6k damage value is not too shabby. And the Great Stag Knights performing amazing here. 2,728 damage value. What do you guys think of this No Wizard build? Let me know down below. And until next time, peace, peace. And as always, stay awesome.